Hello, welcome to the Garden Kitty tutorial. If you're joining me today, you've gotten a kit like this and we're going to make this. I also want to show you, if you're joining me, how to also do it on white because you might have white. This is a square and I just wanted to make this video versatile for anyone who is joining me on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my camera so that you can see my canvas. Try to get it so that you can see the whole thing. Okay, now in your kit, you have a paint tray. What I'd like you to do, actually before we get to that point, make sure that you have a wet cloth and a cup of water, maybe warm water, because I'm going to be using that to wash my brush in between colors. And then what I'd like you to do to start is on your paint tray, we're going to put, if you're working on the black, you're going to use white. Oh, and actually this white I haven't opened yet. So you're going to poke so that you can open the top. So I'm going to put some white in here. And then you're going to also take some black in here. And that is for if you are working on a white canvas. So white paint for the black canvas, black paint for the white canvas. And how we're going to start this is part one of the Garden Kitty. And the reason that we need to have two parts is because we are going to get to use these fun, they're an oil-based pen, so they're a paint pen, and we're going to use these in part two to add detail to our painting. So what I would like you to do to start is we're going to start with the shape of our kitty. So I'm going to take some white, and in about the middle of the canvas, it's going to look like a bean to start, which is going to be kind of funny, but I'm just going to paint in the shape of a bean, so a long oval. I'm going to make sure that I leave room for flowers at the bottom and flowers at the top. I'm just going to run the paint around like this. Now, one thing that you can do, and just add as you go, I like to, when I'm painting, I just like to put a little bit in and keep adding, because these tubes, you can't put the paint back in, so you don't want to waste. But what you're going to do, and you'll notice with this paint on this canvas, is that you might have to do two coats. It depends how bright you want the white to be. And I'm going to paint all in the middle. And give it, and I think that'll be a nice size. If you think that you've made your bean or your oval too small, what you can do is you can keep adding around, and I might even do that as well. I just like to kind of see what I'm working with first. You want to smooth out all this paint though. You don't want it to be clumpy. If it is a little bit clumpy, or if you have a few lines, that's okay, because we're painting a cat, and most things that you paint in real life they have texture. And so this is like fur, right, for the cat. So I'm just going to come along like this, and what you'll notice is that when I paint this guy, it's not going to look exactly like the one that I had for my sample. It's going to look very similar, but each time you do something, it turns out just a little bit different. Now, I don't think that this needs a second coat. I'm happy with this. I know when it dries that I'm going to be able to add my finishing details. So I'm gonna go like this. And then what I'm gonna do is on one side, I'm gonna do my ear. And it's just like a little triangle on the side of his head. And I'm gonna save the other ear because I'm gonna make the other ear black. And I just think that I've seen those black and white cats. I think they're called tuxedo kitties. And I really like their look. To be honest, I'm not a huge cat person. Sorry to all the cat people out there. I like them for art purposes. But I've been more of a dog person in like life and the type of pet that I would want to have. But I have friends with cats and they love their cats. And you know, I love the look of a tuxedo cat. Okay, so there's my cat in white. So you keep going. Remember with these videos, like I'm noticing, I'm gonna make this a little bit wider. I'm gonna come along this way a bit more and just come along here. Remember with my videos, as always, you can pause, you can fast forward, you can rewind. That's what makes it really nice. It's like a little private lesson. So I'm gonna leave it like that for a second because I also want to show how you can do it on a smaller canvas. This is even just a flat canvas too, because I know that people will be joining, hopefully, that maybe they didn't even get one of the kits, but they have some supplies at home. So what I'm doing is I'm just washing my brush off, and then I'm going to use the black, and I'm just going to do the opposite with the black on here. So instead of a bean shape, so this is going to be much smaller, but it's going to be right in the middle again. And I'm going to go like this. And I actually had this canvas, it's quite old, so it's kind of gotten dirty, but I actually decided just to use it because sometimes that happens and then we think like it's garbage, but it really isn't. You can place flowers over the dirty part, right? When we get to painting our flowers. So I'm just gonna make a little bean shape. Looks like I'm gonna need a bit more paint. So I'll take my black and give it a little squeeze in there. And then go like this. And get into all those. The canvas is porous, which means that it's got texture to it, which is holes. And so you want to make sure you get the paint into all those little holes. So I've got a nice little bean shape there, a little bit different than my white, but that's okay. This is just a guide, so I want you to still be creative. This is just giving you ideas, but you also can go with what you would like to do. So now I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna put my ear on like this, and then I'm gonna let this guy go to the side. There you go. That's cute. I'll move him to the side. I'm gonna bring my black one back over. And actually, I don't even need to wash this because now I'm gonna put black on the black, which seems weird, but it's not. Because we're going to do another ear right here, but it's a black ear. And even though you won't be able to see it super well right now, in part 2, when we finish it off with the acrylic, or no, actually it's an oil-based marker, it'll really make it pop. So I'm just gonna go like this. Now, when the white dries, you can even bring this black along here if you want, or you can just leave it. I'm gonna just kind of guide it like this, and then wipe my brush because I've got some white on there that's gonna carry up. All right, so we've got our base for our body. I'm gonna want this to dry completely before I do paws or any, yeah, that's still pretty wet, but so we'll go and do some of the flowers now, and then we'll come back to finishing up that part of the cat. Or actually, you know what? We're gonna do the tail and then we'll do the flowers. So let's clean our brush off. See, it's really like being at the art house because Miss Mervyn just talks her way through. Okay, so now I'm gonna do a tail. And I'm gonna come up from the bottom, and I'm gonna do two types. So on this one, I'm going to do like it looks in the picture, and all I did was I did like a little circle. You can have fun just twirling it around. And then what I did is then I just brought my tail down to the base of the kitty. And come all the way down like this. I'm just gonna keep going. Until I've got it sort of smooth. Now, if it's still got some lines, that's no big deal. Remember what we talked about texture and how cats have texture. And just even use your paintbrush like a pen and smooth it out. And then it will all come together with the pens in part 2. But there is our cat with its tail. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of these colors in because I've got dark blue. And put some of that in. I've got light blue. And I'm just making a colorful garden. You know, like when you see wildflowers and it's not just a rose garden or a tulip garden, it's like all the flowers. I really like that. So that's what I was kind of going for here. There might be a flower that we do that you really like. I think the only color I didn't use was orange. I don't know. So if you want to use orange, go ahead. Oh no, and I didn't really have a spot for brown in this. I guess I did use a little orange. But you decide all the colors that you want to put in your tray. And then I'm just gonna guide you through some different ways to make certain flowers. And it's totally up to you where you put those flowers, or if you want to do like some the same or all the same, like maybe there's a favorite. I'm gonna show you how to do sort of some greenery in there. It just to give you some ideas. But remember, ultimately, this is your art. So I want you to have fun with it. Okay, so I'm gonna get the white off my brush and I'm gonna start at the bottom. Now these flowers too, without the pen marking, they're just kind of an outline of a flower and they don't really take shape until you add the details with the pen. So what I'm going to do down here is I'm going to draw sort of a half circle, and what that means, and this one's going to look a little different than the page, the sample, but that's just because every time I do it, even though I'm like copying my sample, it still turns out different. Okay, so I'm gonna go like this. I'm gonna color this half circle all the way in with my blue. And in part 2, I'll show you some neat ways that you can use your pen to give this half circle petals. Okay, so I'm gonna come up around like this. You don't have to worry too much about it being smooth, but you don't want to like press really hard and go like this. You want to do nice even strokes with your brush. Make sure it all gets covered. And again, like I said, you could let this whole thing dry, and then if you wanted them brighter, you could do a second coat. But this actually, I'm gonna wipe this off. This actually, when the pen goes on it, these colors actually do stand out really nicely. Okay, so now I don't have pink, but I'm gonna take a little bit of the red and I'm gonna mix it with the white that I have, and I'm going to make a pink. And what I'm gonna do is more of a tulip looking flower. So remember, you don't have to do these all exactly the same as me. Maybe you want to watch this one time through and then decide what flowers you like the best. But I'm going to start with a line like this, and a line like this, and a line like this. And then I'm going to add to them to make it into more of a tulip color, or tulip shape. So I'm coming like this, sort of rounding it. Same up here, rounding it. And then I'm going to do that again and round the bottom. And remember in life that when you look at flowers, sometimes there's a petal broken. They're not always going to be symmetrical. Now, I want to make sure that my garden is really full. So, like for example with this one, so I'm going to wipe this off. I'm going to give this tulip a stem. I'm going to take some of my green, and underneath I'm just going to go with a line kind of running along the length of the canvas, or not the canvas, of the tulip. And then I'm also going to just go like this and give it a stem. And then I've got some room down here, and I'm going to do another half circle down there. And I think the color that I'm going to choose for down there, put a little pop of yellow. And you can make it so that it runs into the next flower, because in the garden they all kind of fall on top of each other. I love a garden like that, that has is just full of flowers. So I'm gonna go like this, and then maybe make it so that it's behind. And a lot of times I don't even know exactly how it's going to turn out. It just starts to come as I go. And I hope that's what happens with you too, is that you just sort of started seeing it take shape. Now maybe some of you decided that you wanted orange down there, or maybe you wanted a light blue in there. I'm going to do a few more kind of circles in here to fill this up. And then I'll do more of ones with petals up here just to give you an idea. So maybe what I'll do is take my red and just sort of fill this space. So I'm gonna come like this and do a circle in there. Now on my sample, this was right up, the cat was almost sitting on the blue flower, but when I did it this time, he was a bit smaller. So maybe you don't have room, like I didn't have room in my first one, but maybe you do. So if you don't have room for this flower and the blue is right up to your cat's like sitting on it, then you would just leave that. And I'm gonna take another color and take some light blue and bring that in here. Ooh, look how that pops together. I love that. Just gonna kind of run it around here. Oh, this blue really likes the black canvas. And then it'll be really neat when we use the pen, because you're gonna see how these turn into flowers. It's really cool. Part 2 is really exciting. Okay, so now I want to do a bigger flower behind here, behind the tail. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some more white and I'm gonna mix it with I'm gonna mix the white into this dark blue, because I probably won't use this dark blue again. And I'm gonna lighten it up. Not as light as this, but it's just a different light blue, so I'll take a bit more. Okay, that lightened it up a lot. And then I'm going to take some green and put it in there and see how that changes this color. And you feel free to mix your colors. It's really fun. You can come up with some different shades. So this kind of is a smoky, greeny, a dark teal, I guess you would say. Okay, so I've got this new color that I'm gonna try. And garden pictures are awesome for trying, because flowers can be any color, right? So I'm just gonna do a circle to kind of fill in behind here. I'm gonna run it along the tail. And it's jumping over, and I'm gonna fill all this in. And get that off my brush. Only thing is, when you run out, you gotta mix all the colors again, and hopefully you get the same shade. But even if you don't, remember, these are flowers, and flowers have all different tones in them, don't they? Okay, so I'm just gonna make sure that when I come around that it meets at the right spot. And so I've got a nice big circle here. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill this space with 2 flowers, one up here, and then we're gonna do our vines. So I'm gonna take, actually, you know what? I'm gonna use this other blue, this light blue, and even though I've got some of that blue on my, I just kind of want to mix them together, because why not? Now this one, I'm gonna start with a circle in the middle. I'm gonna do more of petals. So I'm gonna come out here, and I'm gonna come across with some petals. And I'm gonna keep going all the way around. Another way to do it, well, I'll show you another way. You can draw them out, or you can do what we did before up there, where you just do the lines like a star, and then you work around them. So this is giving it a little more shape. a little more shape, but if it turns into, I want to thicken these up actually, these petals. I want to get them a little thicker here, and then it's going to go right into my cat, which I love because then it looks like a really big bushy garden with lots of greenery and lots of flowers. There we go. So it's not quite a circle. It's got a little bit of dimension with these. And remember, our pens are going to give the finishing touches. Now I want to put another pink down here. I'm going to do something a little bit different with the pink. So first I need to get some more white so that I can make some more pink. Take my red and get it in there. Okay, so with this one, I'm gonna start with a circle again. And don't worry about being too careful with how you're doing your circles and where you're placing them, because any spots where you need to fill, we can also fill with leaves. So I'm gonna start by going like this with a circle. I'm kind of just moving the paint around. It's neat when you kind of make these half circles. There we go. And we'll go like this. And then what I kind of want to do on here too is kind of put some bumps on it so that these are like little petal bumps. And that's just because when I use my pen, kind of gives it a little more dimension. So all I'm doing is like a little scalloped edge, a little curved edge, and coloring it in. I'm not being super careful because I know when I get my pen, that's when I'm gonna get the detail, the finer detail. So this is looking really good. I'm gonna do one more flower right up here, and that's gonna be my big red rose. So I'm going to come behind the cat's ear. I'm gonna start, I just like to give myself a base. So I'm gonna start with a little circle. And I'm gonna kind of do these big leaves, or not leaves, petals. And then I'm gonna paint them in so that when I have my pen, I can really, the circle won't be there anymore, just to give me kind of a grounding. And then I can just paint all of this in. I'm gonna come right along the ear. I know it's hard to see now, but it won't be. Now, if you are working on the white canvas, you're doing all the same things right around the white canvas. It's just gonna show up different. Okay. So I've got my rose kind of detailed in that I can put my marks on after. I think I'm gonna bring this up here a bit more and this, and then there we go. Now what I wanna do is I wanna get my greenery for you. So I'm gonna take my greens, and I've got a dark and a light green. And so basically all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my dark green first and take a line coming all the way up. And don't worry if it doesn't show up very well. Remember, we're gonna use marker to outline in part 2. And all I'm doing is putting some little leaves on, just seeing where they'll fit. And just kind of get it in the ear there. Yep. There you go. And then you can do another one. Maybe you want another one coming out here. I'm gonna do some leaves in this color first. So on my rose, I'm going to do some leaves coming off my rose, just to fill in space here. Really get in there. I think I need a little bit more. And then what you're gonna do is let this whole thing dry all the way. Okay, so I've got one there. I think I could actually even add one right here. Yeah, I really like that. That is really cute. Okay, and then now what I'll do is I'll wipe my brush off and I'll get the light green and put a little bit of light greenery in there. Now, because we're working with 2 greens, we don't have to be, can you see that down there? Okay, so we're going to do a couple leaves here too. You could change this green and you could put some white in it to soften it up if it's a little bit too neon, but I think that looks really good on the black. And do some in here. And maybe some right here. You decide where those leaves would look good. I'm gonna let that go in there. And then I'm gonna also come up from here and do another sort of, I don't know, branch. It's not a branch, just a leaf, a stick of leaves. And same thing. Okay, so I like how this is. You can add more flowers as you see fit. You're gonna totally make this, let this dry before you do anything else to it. So I'm gonna set that to the side and I'm gonna do a few things on this one in case you're working on white canvas. If you're just on the black, then you can just turn the video off because that will be part 2 that you'll need to go to once your canvas is dry. But thank you for joining. And if you're on the white, then I'm just gonna show you how it looks to have, I'm just gonna do a different tail here where it's a little bit pointy for this one. And then this one is dry, so I actually, no, I'll save that. Okay, so then you're just gonna do the same thing with your flowers. I haven't used any orange, so maybe I'll start with some orange down here. This kind of looks like a Halloween garden. And this one, I don't have room to do a whole bunch. So this half circle is actually gonna take up this whole area, which is fine. I like when we're working on a project and it's like we're kind of doing it the same, but they all come out different. And that's just kind of what I like, letting the art kind of decide how it's going to turn out. I'm gonna take some blue and do, let's try a blue tulip. Like that, and then I'm gonna round it. And that looks really good like that. And then I'm also, because I have some of this left, I'm going to do another flower here. I like doing this circle in the middle to kind of ground you or center you. And then you can add your petals around. And it actually doesn't matter how they come out, because when we use the pen is how it's going to determine how the flower really looks. So I've got that there. And then I think that a yellow actually would look really good here. So I'm going to take some yellow, and it's actually got some blue mixed in it. So I think that'll be neat. Oh, it's not even really showing up, but that's okay. The yellow looks great. I'm just going to do, oh, there we go. Now it's got some different, just going to do some, almost like a circle coming through. And then I'll do another, I don't have any, let's see, I don't have any red on here. So maybe I'll put some more red in. And we'll do another circle type. I'll just go around the black tail. And you know, this project kind of looks messy at first, but it's amazing what the oil pen adds to it. Come around all the way. There we go. So that's super cute. And maybe I'll put another red one up here. And then we'll get some greenery. And so you can see that we're just kind of almost like we're doing all circles, but they're all like different shapes. But they'll really start to take their form when we give them their finishing details. Okay, so let's wipe this off and let's put some green. I'm gonna do that same thing that I did on the black canvas, just run my green along the bottom and create a little stem. And then on this one, I'm gonna put actually some leaves on here. Oops. Sorry, my brush is dirty. That's okay, we can go over top. I don't mind making mistakes in front of you. It's not always, with art, it's not really mistakes. It's always just gonna come out a different color than you thought. And this might happen while you're doing it. So all is not lost if that happens. I'll put a little leaf in there. And I'm gonna do a line coming up because we haven't done a leaf branch on this one. And see how it kind of just, if you've got an older canvas that's not in the best shape, you're just covering right over it. And I'm gonna do another one of those over on this side. It's a little bit different than the other one, but I want you to have lots of options and know that there's not just one way to do it. I think that looks really cute though, and I can't wait to finish that off with the oil-based pen. So we're all done for part 1. I hope you enjoyed that video, and once your canvas is dry, that's the other thing with this. It's not that great to the easel that you have. It's not the kind where you paint on it. I mean, you can. Sorry, my camera's a little. You can, but it's not very sturdy. It's more for the drying phase. So you can put it on for your painting to dry and keep it out of the way. And then I'll see you on part 2. Bye.